So in your book, you have a chapter called Funeral Goals. Tell me about funeral goals.
I am not the first self-development author to ask you to focus on your funeral. I just want to make that clear. This is something you've probably heard from self-development authors before. But let me give you super quick context and how I think about my funeral goals really differently. So about 3 years ago, I was at my grandfather's funeral in Galveston, Texas. And it's the type of funeral that you want to go to because my grandpa was in his 90s. He lived an extremely full life and it was really his time. And I'm sitting in the pews and the entire church is just full of people. And there's this receiving line that is literally out the door of the church for people who want to visit my family and talk about my grandfather. And ultimately, one of the things that I heard in almost every single story that people shared with me that day was that my grandfather always made them feel like they were the most important person when he was with them. When they were in his presence, he gave them his full attention. And I remember that to me was a really powerful statement because we're so distracted in our lives today with social media, with having our phone in front of us all the time that we're not always present. And my grandfather had the ability to sit with people and be fully present with them. So after I left the funeral that day, I started thinking about what the hell do I want people to say about me at my funeral? What matters to me in my life? And what type of legacy do I even want to leave? Again, not the first self-development author to ask you to think about this. However, one of the things that I think is different is that when I'm planning that, I pretend my funeral is going to be in 5 years. So in this moment today, what do I want people to say about me at my funeral? And if I die in 5 years, what are the things I'm going to do now that are going to get me to that place? And so it's kind of morbid, but okay, so my family owns a funeral home, so I'm just a little bit morbid sometimes. But I have to think about my funeral because that's in game for me. That's the place where everything that I've done in this life is shared by the people that I want to impact and the people that I've wanted to love deeply. And so that's how I plan out my goals. And I create new funeral goals all the time.
Can you share a couple examples?
Totally. Okay. So I actually focus on what I want people to say about me. So usually I will focus first on my kids. So I have 2 children, Maddie and Ethan, and I want them to get up and say about me, my mom always encouraged me to be my authentic self. She wanted me to show up and embrace who I was uniquely, and she supported me in that regardless of what that looked like. So for me, one of the core things in my personality is to really support people in living their truest and most authentic lives and their truest, most beautiful stories. And so that really runs as a common theme in everything I do. So for my children, that's what I want them to say about me when they're at their funeral. When my partner is at my funeral, and he always says that he's gonna be there, that he's not gonna be at my funeral. He thinks he's gonna die before me, but this is 5 years out, so he's gonna be there. And what I want him to say about me is the same thing. I want him to say, Liesl inspired me to live authentically. She inspired me to be a better person every single day. And ultimately, we were partners, but we uniquely had our own personalities and we allowed each other to grow in who we were and change together. And those are a couple of examples for me. And then what I try and do is I align the shit that matters to me based on those funeral goals. So I look at my calendar and I'm like, how am I spending my time? Am I spending time regularly with my children, trying to figure out their interests, their hobbies, what matters to them? Am I cultivating a relationship with my partner and also cultivating a relationship with myself to guarantee that I'm healthy so we can grow together? So that's usually when I look at my calendar, I say to myself, am I allotting time to the things that are going to get me to my 5-year funeral goals?